Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 40. Well, today's guest is an expert in releasing pain through breath. She's a certified yoga instructor, and her name is Jennifer Houghton. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm really excited for what you're going to teach us today about how to release pain using breath.
Hey, Ashley, I'm so happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, please tell us, how did you figure out this technique?
You know, it's developed over the years. I've been teaching yoga for a long time now, and I was finding that most of the people who are coming to my classes are over 45, and when they're coming to yoga, you know, in their 40s and 50s, quite often they're looking for pain relief, and the breathing techniques sort of evolved over time. I took a course in pain management that was presented by a physiotherapist who specialized in pain with his clients, and I learned a lot from him. And in addition to all my yoga training, I also took some workshops with a vocal coach who specialized in breathing techniques. And all of those things sort of came together, the yoga, the pain management, the vocal techniques, and it evolved into this breath work that focuses on helping people relieve pain.
Wow, I see that you worked for the MS Society of Canada and that you were teaching yoga and fitness for people with multiple sclerosis.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful opportunity that I had. I worked for them for about a year, and the yoga classes were just lovely. They were fantastic. There was, for people who aren't familiar with MS, it's a progressive disease, and it's quite unpredictable. And so the people who were coming to classes had all sorts of different levels of ability. Some people were walking in unassisted. Some people walked with a cane. There were some people who were in electric wheelchairs. And so that sort of helped me evolve the breathwork practice as well, because it was a challenge to find things that we could do in yoga class that benefited everyone, that everyone could do. And the breathwork, I found everyone really enjoyed it and they got something out of it. So when someone is in pain and they're immobilized by it, the breath work is a fantastic tool to use to help yourself relax and feel better and release the pain and sort of get yourself warmed up and start moving towards being able to move again.
So people with diseases like multiple sclerosis, they can have chronic pain, but then people who aren't diagnosed with any disease at all can experience acute pain at times, like headaches, or like you shared that you had broke your rib last year. And so that's very painful. The breathing technique that you teach, is this something that people with any level of pain will it benefit someone with any level of pain?
Yes, absolutely. It works for chronic pain situations. It works for, like you said, acute pain situations. People with MS, it is a very unpredictable disease, and sometimes they'll be in pain and sometimes they won't, and the level of pain will vary for them. So most people would consider a broken rib a real horrible experience. but as a yoga teacher, I was like, okay, I have an opportunity here to test my methods. And what happened was my big dog wanted to go out for a walk on a rainy day. And so we both went bounding down the porch stairs that are wood, and they were slippery, and my feet slipped out from under me and I cracked my back rib. And uh, fortunately, I was near the bottom of the steps, so nothing else got hurt. And as I was down at the bottom of the steps trying to catch my breath, a whole lot of panicky thoughts started going through my head. And it was like, oh my God, I have a broken rib. I'm not going to be able to teach for months. How am I going to make a living? I'm going to lose my home. I'm going to be destitute. Who's going to take care of my cats and dogs? All sorts of thoughts. And then I managed to, get back in the house and crawl into bed. And the panicky thoughts continued. And then all of a sudden, a new thought came across my mind. And it was like, okay, wait a minute. I teach yoga and meditation, and now is a perfect opportunity for me to put those methods to the test. So I started to pay attention to my breathing. And just like most people, when I was in that sort of stress mode, what was happening is I was taking really short, fast, shallow breaths. And when we take those short, shallow breaths and we breathe in through the mouth, when we're gulping air in through the mouth, that activates more stress receptors in the upper lobes of the lungs, and it causes our bodies to go into that stress response. It goes into fight or flight mode. And so what I did was I started to slow down my breath. So instead of gulping air in through my mouth, I started to inhale slowly through my nose. I continued to exhale through my mouth, but I let the exhales slow down. And anyone with a broken rib will tell you it's really hard to breathe deeply, but I did my best to slow my breath down and take it in through the nose instead of the mouth. And what that did was it sent a message to my nervous system and to my body that everything is okay. The breath actually sends a signal to the body, and it can either be, okay, we're in stress mode, it's an emergency, or it can be prepare to relax. And so by slowing my breathing down, my muscles relaxed, my heart rate slowed down, I could feel the muscles in my face releasing, my teeth stopped grinding. And it really made a significant impact on how I was feeling, on the panic state of my body. And so in addition to doing the breathing method, I also did some mindfulness techniques, and I focused on the physical sensation I was feeling at that moment. Instead of calling it pain, I gave it a neutral label and I called it heat. And I focused on that sensation, and then it moved and I gave it a different name and I called it pulsing. And then that moved and I focused on, what does this feel like? It feels like tingling. And after doing that for a few minutes, I actually fell asleep.
Amazing. I know I've had this experience as well, especially when preparing. I did hypnobirthing. So preparing for labor, um, the Tracy Adams, who was the hypnotherapist teaching me hypnobirthing, said, we give all these sensations in the body this label called pain, and that exacerbates the pain. But when we start to just come centered and without labeling it, experience the sensation and go, what is this sensation? Then you can begin to go, oh, okay, that is pulsing, that is heat, that is, and then the pain starts to go down because we're not psychologically getting worked up about it.
Yeah, exactly. The mind has a lot of power over the pain that we experience. And if someone says to you, the pain that you're feeling is all in your head, that feels like an insult. But it can actually be good news, because it means that we can take control over the pain that we're experiencing. When someone is in chronic pain, so let's say their pain has persisted for 3 months or 6 months or longer, the nervous system actually goes into overdrive. It becomes hypersensitive. And one of the things that happens is the body starts to respond to normal signals as if they're pain. So if you think about, like, when you have a sunburn and someone just touches your shoulder, that's sort of what happens, or your shoulder where the sunburn is. So you react. It feels incredibly painful. Just normal touch becomes painful when the nervous system is hypersensitive from months or years of chronic pain. And the nervous system starts misreading signals as pain, and it starts to send more and more danger signals to the brain, and then the brain responds and it tells the body how to respond to those signals. And if we're controlling our brain and we're telling the brain everything is okay, there's no need to send extra pain signals. And we do that by doing relaxation techniques like mindfulness, focusing on sensations like they are sensations rather than something that's emotional. We can do it through deep breathing. We can do it through yoga. So when we start to train our brain that way, it can send signals back out to the body that the body can stand down, the body can relax. It doesn't need to keep producing the pain hormones. It can start producing endorphins. The brain can really have a significant impact on the physical sensations that we're experiencing.
Well, it definitely makes sense, since the brain is where the pain is being processed, and a lot of people think, oh well, the pain's in my shoulder. Well, that's actually the pain is in your brain. That's where the pain is being processed. So we can use techniques to, is what you're saying, is there are techniques that we can use to help our brain shift its experience of pain.
Yeah, so the body and the brain are working together to make decisions, and they happen most of the time, they happen at an automatic level. It's below our conscious level. The brain and the body are working together to decide how we're going to respond to external stimuli. And when the nervous system is working normally, and our brain is part of the nervous system, when the nervous system is functioning normally, uh, the body is responding to danger signals like they're danger. But when chronic pain persists, the body will start responding to normal signals. And it also can depend on what's going on in our lives. So if you take two scenarios, for example, okay, let's take a lady named Vicky. I'm just picking a name out of my head. I don't know anybody named Vicky, so I don't want anyone to think I'm using them as an example. But let's say Vicky is a busy mom and she's having a busy day today and she's rushing around with the kids and she's got lots of errands to do, but it's a good day for her. She's excited. Her sister's baby shower is tonight. Her whole family is overjoyed because her sister has been having trouble conceiving and now she has a pregnancy. And so Vicky is really happy. It's a great day for her. She gets home. She starts to open a can of food for the kids to make lunch, and she cuts her hand on the can. She cleans it up. She puts a Band-Aid on it. She gives the kids their food, and then she runs out to go buy flowers for the shower, and she doesn't think about the cut again. So how much pain is Vicky feeling from that cut? Pretty much none. She doesn't give it a second thought. Whereas if you take another scenario, let's say, again, I'm just pulling a name out of the air. Let's say Sharon has just gotten laid off from her job of 20 years. And her husband's on disability, and she's really worried that they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. And she goes into her backyard that day, and she is cleaning up a big pile of wood that's been there for a while, and she cuts her hand on a rusty nail. And she starts to worry that she's going to get tetanus from the rusty nail, and she has no health insurance. So how much pain is Sharon experiencing from that cut? Probably a lot.
I have also experienced that, that before, like, even watching kids, when they're playing and one of them scrapes their knee, but they're still playing and they're happy and they don't even feel it, versus a kid that is having a really bad day, or there's a bully and then the bully hurts them or whatever. They're running away from the bully and they fall and scratch their knee, and the pain is immense. So it's when they're in that fear mode, pain can be exacerbated.
Yeah, absolutely. When we go into that stress mode, it's also called fight or flight response. There's a lot of things going on in the body. And one of the problems, too, in our modern lives is we tend to respond to psychological issues the same way we respond to physical dangers. So, fight or flight is a useful response when you're out in the wild and you're being chased by a bear. Fight or flight causes blood to be diverted to our arms and legs so we can run faster. We can, throw spears with greater accuracy. Um, and but when we're sitting at our desk and our boss criticizes us and we go into that fight or flight mode, it's not like we can get up and run down the hall, or we can, pull out a handy club from our desk and start swinging it around. And so there's all this kind of residual energy that gets built up in our bodies, and we don't get to release it. And so we go into that fight or flight mode. And when that happens, blood is being diverted away from digestion, it's being diverted away from reproductive organs, the immune system. Our heart rate beats faster, and our breathing becomes really fast as well. And the good news here is that the breath is one part of that fight or flight response that we can control. Most people can't control their heart rate, except for maybe really advanced yogis, but we can control the breath. And by controlling the breath, by slowing it down, taking really deep breaths, breathing into the lower lobes of the lungs, we get out of fight or flight, we get out of stress mode, and we go into relaxation mode. And when we start doing that deep breathing, a whole slew of messages is sent out to the body. So the messages include slow the heart rate, start sending resources back to the digestive system, relax the muscles, and we go into that relaxation state just by slowing down the breathing.
Yeah, what you're describing is the autonomic nervous system. So not a lot of people know that there's this part of our nervous system which is dedicated to exactly what you're describing. It's dedicated to the switch. It goes on and off. So sympathetic or parasympathetic response. So is your body in rest and digest mode, where all the blood is most of the blood is within the organs, so that you can get optimal absorption of nutrition, where we can have optimal, like you said, our reproductive system is nourished, and then of course, because most of our immune system surrounds the gut, that our immune system is healthier. Whereas when we are in fight or flight mode, that sympathetic nervous system response, and if we do that too long, we can actually develop ulcers, Crohn's disease. There's all kinds of diseases. Oh, and especially chronic fatigue, which I suffered from for many years. And so through trying to naturally find my healing back to health from having chronic fatigue, I discovered this dance that we do between being in fear mode 90% of the day, because we've got bills and we've got taxes and we've got kids and we've got our arguments with our spouse and arguments with our boss, and it just goes on and on and on. And like you said, I mean, I loved how you said it so beautifully, that we don't have an outlet for the energy that gets built up within inside of us to let it out and get back into that relaxation mode. And so I think sometimes when people think relaxation, they think they have to be like lying on the couch watching TV. But relaxation mode is actually when we are most productive in life, because, and this is something I learned from Dr. Molly Niedermeyer, who's a naturopath who's been on the show before. She told me that our brain, when we're in stress mode, she said to me, she was describing to me when I was in an appointment with her about a year and a half ago. She was telling me about her going through cancer. She healed herself from breast cancer, and she said that when you're in fear mode, your body will divert blood away from the centers of the brain that control logic. And so we literally are impairing our ability to think clearly and to think logically and make better decisions for ourselves and for our health and for our family and for our life and our finances and our future, when we're making decisions in the state of the fight or flight, in the stressed out state that most people are constantly living in. So by you teaching us this technique, we can get back to a place where we're most resourceful. And that's really exciting. Not only can we get rid of pain, which I'm really excited for, so many people are in chronic pain, but we can also get back to a place where we are most resourceful to make the best decisions possible for our life.
Yeah, absolutely. That fight or flight mode has the power to hijack our lives.
Exactly.
Um,
It does. It hijacks our lives. And I think a lot of people, and I know I did in my past before I learned about this, I felt helpless. I felt like I was in stress mode, but I didn't even know. It was like a fish in water. And it really did hijack my life for many years and hijacked my health. So simply by learning your release method, where people learn and they can go to your website, which I'm excited for them to go to your website, bountifulyogaandwellness.com, and all the links to everything that Jennifer does is going to be in the show notes of this podcast. But by people being able to go there, they can do your online course called The Release Method, Breathe Your Way to Pain Relief. But I think that not only should people who are in pain now do your course, but I really feel that we should all do it because we want to be able to have the technique for when pain happens. Like you fell down the stairs and broke your rib, and you had these techniques. Everyone at some point in their life is going to experience an injury or is going to be really stressed out in fight or flight mode. And if we have this technique already, like I know we can call it preventive medicine, but if we have this technique already in our tool belt, then we can at that point access that resource and get out of fight or flight mode where we can get our resources back, get our brain back, and make better choices even in a crisis of like having an acute injury. So I'm actually really, really excited about this. Something really interesting came up in the news today. There was an article where it said that, and I don't know if it was North Americans or just Americans, but it said that they did a poll, and out of families that live in households that make $50,000 or less, two-thirds of them would not be able to come up with $1,000 if there was an emergency. And that means that there's a huge majority of people living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, and that if anything, even falling down the stairs and having a broken rib could possibly mean that they would end up homeless. And it said that even families that made more than that, up to 100,000 in a year, that it was something like 68% of the families would have a problem coming up with even $1,000 for an emergency bill. So we are living in this era where if something happens like an acute injury and we're in pain, it's very likely that if we can't work or if we're caught up in the fight or flight response, that we wouldn't have the resources in the moment to help our family get through it. And that's really, really scary. So through people learning this technique, they'd be able to, if anything were to happen, they'd be able to help themselves. Now, by learning this technique, could someone also teach it to their friend or family member if their friend or family member was going through pain?
Absolutely. This is a resource that anyone could use. It could be used to help your family members. Pardon me. It could be used by healthcare practitioners, nurses, counselors, physiotherapists, anyone who's working with people in pain, whether it's acute pain or whether it's chronic pain. And the breathing techniques can be used on a daily basis. And like you said, not only will they help with pain, but they'll also help us come out of that stress mode and help us be more efficient. It's great for health overall. One of the other things that's going to happen when you're doing the breathing technique is you'll start to strengthen your diaphragm. And most people that I encounter anyways, don't realize that they are not breathing to their full capacity. And so we're taking these short, shallow breaths as a habit. We're doing that on a regular basis. And when we take short, shallow breaths, the diaphragm doesn't get used to its full capacity. We're not breathing into the lower lobes of the lungs. And one of the things that studies have found is that people with a weak diaphragm are more likely to have back pain. The diaphragm is an essential core muscle, and it works in many different ways to keep our back strong and stable and to keep our cores strong. So for people who aren't familiar with the diaphragm, it's a muscle. It's an umbrella-shaped muscle right in the center of the body. It connects to the body right about the level of the lower ribs. The internal organs sit below the diaphragm, and the heart sits and the lungs sit above the diaphragm. So each time we take a breath in, if the body is functioning properly, if the diaphragm is working to its full capacity, when we breathe in, the diaphragm will press downwards. The internal organs will get pressed downwards and outwards. And when we breathe out, the diaphragm rises back up. So each time we take a full deep breath, when we're breathing to our full capacity, there's a number of things that are happening. The heart is getting a massage. The internal organs are getting massaged. The movement of the diaphragm is also massaging all of the little muscles in the back, in the rib cage, in the stomach. So that deep breathing action of the diaphragm is good for our digestion. It's good for our general health. The diaphragm as well, when it's functioning to its full capacity, when we're able to take full deep breaths, it changes the pressure in the thoracic cavity. So that's the upper part of the body. And that pressure is essential for providing stability to the spine. Another way that the diaphragm is related to back pain is when the diaphragm is functioning, when it's doing that up and down movement, there's a whole lot of little deep abdominal muscles that get recruited to help it. However, when the diaphragm isn't able to move through its full range of motion, either because we're not breathing deeply enough from stress or because our body is too tight around the belly, when the diaphragm isn't moving and we're not taking deep breaths and we end up doing those shallow chest breaths, neck and shoulder muscles get recruited to help the diaphragm do its job, and then people can also end up with neck and shoulder pain in addition to the back pain just because they're not breathing to their full capacity.
Wow. There's a lot going on that we're not doing that we could easily do.
Absolutely.
This is very cool. Well, I'm excited that you are going to be teaching us some techniques. So, yeah, I'd love for you to give us this tool that we can use.
So the breath work that I'm going to lead you through, I call it the 4-part breath work. And the 4 parts are 4 parts of the torso: the belly, the mid-ribs, the center of your chest, right between the girls or the bros, and your upper chest. And what we're doing when we're doing this breath work is not only are we enhancing our ability to breathe deeply, so we're taking ourselves out of fight or flight, out of stress mode, but we're also strengthening the diaphragm, and we're going to explore which parts of our torsos we're not breathing into. So which parts of our torsos are tight and not allowing the breath to be full and not allowing the diaphragm to work to its full capacity. So if you're holding tension in your belly, in your back, in your chest, this is a great way to discover where you might be holding tension that you didn't realize you were holding tension. So we'll start by placing one or both hands on the belly, right around the belly button. And to start with, just notice with your natural breath, is there a rise and fall of your belly as you breathe in and breathe out? And if we are breathing to our full capacity, there will be a subtle, gentle movement of the belly as you breathe in and breathe out. So just take note, is it moving while you do your natural breath? And from here, we'll move into the technique. So the technique is to inhale through your nose and exhale with a sigh through your open mouth. So big, strong, powerful inhale through your nose. It might sound something like this. And then open your mouth and let the breath out with a sigh. It might sound something like this. So as we're doing this one, consciously and deliberately breathe into your belly. Now, the air doesn't actually go into your stomach, but think about getting your belly to expand and then subside as you inhale and exhale. So strong, powerful inhales through the nostrils and full, complete, lingering exhales through your mouth. Do one more like that. Powerful inhale, long, deep inhale through the nose, and then exhale everything. And let it all out. And then let your breath settle. Let it become natural again. You can rest your hands somewhere comfortable. And take note, did your body kind of tense up anywhere that it didn't really need to tense up? Maybe your face muscles or your shoulders. Did you tense up unconsciously? Take note of that. And we'll move into the second part, which is the mid ribs in between your belly button and your chest. So if you can, place the heels of your palms against your side ribs. If you can't reach there comfortably, just let your hands rest on your front ribs. Let your elbows rest down. And notice with your natural breath, is there movement in your rib cage? Now, if we are breathing to our full capacity, if there's no tension that's stopping that from happening, if the diaphragm is working fully, the side ribs will move out sideways as you inhale, and then they'll softly return back to place as you exhale. So from here, we'll move into those deep breaths again, consciously and deliberately breathing into your mid ribs. Powerfully inhale through your nose, and then open your mouth and let that exhale out. Do a few just like that. Seeing if you can notice some movement in your side ribs, in your front ribs. Powerful, like superhero inhales, drawing that air in. And don't be afraid that you're going to over inhale. That's impossible. Make those breaths as deep as you can, and then exhale everything. Oh, and I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you can, go ahead and lay down while you're doing this. It'll take the compression off your spine. It'll let you breathe more deeply. But if you have to sit up, or if you're in your car, you can do this in a seated position too. Just make sure you're sitting up nice and tall and your shoulders stay relaxed. All right, let's move up into part 3, which is that space right in the center of your chest, right around the sternum. So if you can, gently place your fingertips just on that space in between there. Notice if there's any movement in that part of your body. And if there is, it will be a lot more subtle than it was in your belly or in your ribs. This area, obviously there's a lot of bone there, and it's not going to naturally move as much. And it also tends to be a place where people are more tight than they realize they are. So from here, let's move into those conscious, deliberate inhales into that part of your chest. So big, strong, powerful inhale, seeing if you can get your fingers to move a little bit as you inhale, and then exhale everything. And again, powerfully inhale through your nose, seeing if you can loosen stuff up in that central channel right down the middle. And then exhale, let everything out. And you can do this practice for a lot longer than what we're doing today. You can spend a few minutes on each section of your body. All right, let your hands rest somewhere comfortable. And again, take note, did you kind of tense up anywhere that you didn't really need to tense up as you were doing this breathing? Did your toes curl? Did your shoulders get hunched? Did you clench your teeth? And just take note. From here, let's move up into the fourth part of this breath work, which is the upper chest, just below the collarbones. So if you can, gently place your fingers on your chest, just below the collarbones. Let your elbows relax down. And notice, is that part of your body moving as you breathe in and out? So the lungs come all the way up to just below the collarbones. And if we are breathing naturally and fully, the collarbones will move a little bit as we breathe in and out. Let's move into consciously and deliberately filling that part of your body with air. So big, deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Let's do 2 more just like that. Big, powerful inhale. And complete exhale, let it all out. Do 1 more, and as you exhale this time, if there's nobody else around, see if you can let out a sound as you exhale. It can sound like a sigh. Like imagine that you've just won the lottery. Your life just changed for the better. You have no more troubles ever, and that sigh reflects that. All right, very good. And then relax your hands somewhere comfortably. Take note, is anything unnecessarily tense? Kind of check in. How are things feeling compared to when you started? And then notice, was there one of those four parts, or was there some areas that were feeling tighter, like you weren't getting as much movement as you were breathing? And if that's the case, you can practice in that area. So you can do this. You can do this 10 minutes a day. You can do it 20 minutes a day. You can do it for 30 minutes a day. I once did a practice for a full hour, and I really felt how my abdominal muscles got a workout. And you can use this to help you relax. You can use it to make your breathing more deep and more powerful. And you can use this technique anytime you need to when you're feeling pain. How are you doing, Ashley?
I feel so good. You know what I noticed is when we were breathing in the third part in the sternum, the chest bone, after like two breaths, I felt a warmth right around my heart. It must be just fresh blood and more oxygen because I felt warm.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. Oh wow, that's exciting. That is fantastic. You probably got something to release and move, and yeah, you're moving fresh blood and oxygen into those tissues. How awesome is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, thank you so much for teaching us this technique. My challenge to everyone is to do this every day. Now, should we do it in the morning, in the evening, or just anytime we can? Is there an optimal time to schedule it in our day?
Different people are going to find they get different effects at different times of day. It's just like meditation. Some people prefer it in the morning, some people in the evening. It will energize you, so you can use it in the morning to get refreshed and get going. You could also use it to help you relax and fall into bed in the evening.
Great. So we should just do it all the time.
All the time.
Terrific. Well, and your online course, you teach more breathing exercises, right?
Yes, this is one of the segments in the release method. There's four segments to it.
Terrific. So for people who want to take your course, which I'm definitely interested, it's you go to Jennifer's website, which is bountifulyogaandwellness.com, and check out the course, The Release Method, Breathe Your Way to Pain Relief. But you don't have to have pain to learn these techniques. Like I said, I think it's really important that we have this as a tool in our tool belt that we can use for ourselves. If this ever comes up in life, that we can use it to end the fight or flight response, which most of us have on a regular basis, unfortunately, because of just the lifestyle that we've set up for ourselves. And also we can use it if ever a friend or family member is in crisis or in pain, and we can help them. So I think this is a valuable tool, and I really wish that we lived in a society where this is something we were taught when we were children. But I'm glad you're here to teach all of us so that we can begin to spread this information and help others.
You are very welcome, Ashley. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic true health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.